webinar for teachers, September 28th, 2016. This is our evening session, so thank you so much for joining us on this Wednesday evening. Hopefully everybody is cozied up at home. It is rainy here where I am, so I'm glad I didn't have to go out, but it's great to have you here on this first webinar of the school year. My name is Hillary Hunt, and I serve as the Making Sense Project Coordinator, and we've got a great agenda for you tonight. We're going to be talking about whether or not you still need the balanced checkbook in this digital day and age. Is it a necessary skill or an antiquated lesson? We have Karen Facer-Mee from, she's a certified public accountant with her own accounting business, but she is joining us here today as a representative of the Pennsylvania Institute of CPAs. We also have Susan Bistransin, who is a veteran teacher in Maryland, who's going to talk to us about the FDIC's new and improved Money Smart curriculum for grades K to 12. And we will wrap things up with information on resources available for to teach about personal finance or for financial education from Pennsylvania state government agencies. Becky MacDicken is joining us from the Pennsylvania Department of Banking and Securities, and I will tag team a little bit with her on that in the end. These webinars are brought to you through a partnership with the Pennsylvania Department of Education and Penn State University and are part of a series of financial literacy and economic education initiatives. We try in this to provide curriculum resources, professional information, and content knowledge. Hopefully you'll find that we are doing all of those in tonight's session. I'd also like to thank our project partners, good or even possible. So thank you to both of those ladies. Just a reminder that this is the first in our 2016-2017 series. If you haven't been yet to the makingsensepa.org website, I'd encourage you to go there. You can check out our entire schedule. We'll do 6 different sessions throughout the school year, and you can sign up for any of those today. And with that, I'm going to welcome Karen with us today. She is, as I mentioned before, going to talk about balancing a checkbook. Is it a necessary skill or an antiquated lesson? So, Karen, I am excited to have you on with us today. I am turning things over to you and making you the
thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. As Hillary said, I've been a certified public accountant for over 30 years, and I'm speaking to you. I volunteered to do this because I'm passionately in the belief that balancing a checkbook is not an antiquated lesson. CPAs see people at all levels of financial sophistication who are clueless when it comes to reconciling their bank accounts. Please don't be one of them. Reconciling gives you more control over your finances and can help prevent fraud. As a CPA, I've seen many clients get out of debt just because they reconciled their bank account, and I've also seen clients lose their business because they failed to reconcile their bank account. So now we have technology, more possibilities for the bank and you to make errors, but also that technology provides you more ways to be able to reconcile and more fun. So in these slides, I hope we can discuss new approaches to this necessary skill. It's more relevant than ever. So there are more possibilities for error, but there's increased security risks. So what happens if you don't track your cash? The following slides, I'll try to give you some horror stories that CPAs, as well as myself, have discovered fraud where clients were unaware of it and they failed to reconcile their bank accounts, and that's why they were unaware. Why were they unaware? Because they didn't track their cash and go through all the reconciliation process. Tracking cash is easy, and there's so many fun ways to do it. Like Nike said, just do it. I can't stress enough how important it is to reconcile your bank and credit card accounts, not just your bank account, also credit cards. Don't just look at online banking or print out of an ATM. You want to review and actually maybe print out the statement and use these online tools so that you can catch duplicate accounts, bank account balances and credit card balances are correct, and make sure there's no errors. So basically, if you don't track your cash, the thieves can do it for you. So you want to verify every transaction on your bank statement is yours, no matter how small. Thieves may test to see if there's a small purchase and then go through and before they do touch your account for a large purchase. If you don't track your cash, you're making it far easier for thieves to do that. Now, in the following slides, I'm not addressing large businesses because the banking standards from various countries, I do international work, they're not all the same, but the concepts are basic. But automated reconciliations are really good for large businesses, but I'm really speaking for individuals and small companies, and it's critical for them. So the moral is you never want to do banking on public Wi-Fi because thieves can be listening. We had a medical student that regularly did online banking at the same coffee shop because it had free Wi-Fi. A thief hacked her online, making a few small charges over a period of time, and since the charges were not questioned, the thief stole more money every month over a period of years. Since the medical student was too busy to reconcile, she never knew she was robbed until her CPA questioned a large sum withdrawn when she was a successful doctor. You want to reconcile because you want to uncover unauthorized debits. A student saved her bank passwords on her mobile phone, received her account number by text from her parents, and did not reconcile her bank account. When her parents' CPA analyzed the family accounts for college planning, they found expenses she said were not hers. Someone in her dorm was using her mobile phone to pay her bills. So there again, you need to track all charges to your accounts to make sure that you are not paying someone else's bills. Do not keep any passwords on your mobile phone as they may be easily accessed if you get hacked or you lose your phone. And the key is that parents need to ensure that their children are following the same security safeguards they are. Fraud is often accomplished by altering the payee on a signed check, but with mobile phones, it's actually easier. You just need access to the phone itself. So there again, why reconcile? You want to uncover bank errors. Banking is very competitive. Banks are continually running special promotions for service, fees, interest, and it's tough for the employees and the bank software itself to keep up with all the changes on a timely basis. So banks do make mistakes, so you need to reconcile your monthly bank statements. And banks also only allow 30 days to dispute a discrepancy. They know they're sending you a bank statement. So the items you want to watch are your bank fees. Are they correctly reduced? Are your ATM fees yours? And if you had any special fee reimbursements, did you receive them? Are you receiving all the interest you're entitled to? Were all your ATM transactions charged you? If you're a business and you accept credit cards for payment, did the bank deposit the correct amount and charge you the correct fees? We find that a lot with businesses, that the banks are quoting one fee and they're actually charging another. So you want to make sure that when you reconcile, you're minimizing your fees. A client, for instance, was having trouble reconciling her bank account, so brought it to her CPA with her tax records, but waited to the end of the year. So the CPA asked, why are you getting charged 12 monthly fees when you have a free checking account statement? But unfortunately, because she waited until after the year end, she couldn't get any of those fees back. If she had reconciled, she would only have lost 1 month's worth of fees. So another reason to reconcile is overdraft fees. Maybe the traditional checking account isn't for you, but if you're going through and drawing money electronically and you're using mobile apps, you still have to reconcile. So that doesn't change things. For instance, you need to look to uncover your own errors. What about forgetting about automatic withdrawals? A gym patron complained to the manager she hadn't been to the gym in 9 months, but her account had been charged 9 months of gym membership fees. The promo agreement she signed but failed to read had an automatic renewal. But unfortunately, she did it too late for the manager to refund the fees, and that was all because she didn't reconcile her bank account until the end of the year, so she didn't know about the error. Now, another way you can make errors is depositing checks. The easiest way to avoid overdraft fees and embarrassment of bounced checks is to track your deposits and your account balance. Now, with the new RDC, that's remote deposit capture, for instance, we've had a husband that scanned a check on his smartphone and remotely deposited it to his joint checking account, but he failed to tell his wife. Surprise there. She also used the same check and scanned it and deposited it as well with RDC. The bank caught the error, then charged the account for the duplicate deposit. Since they didn't reconcile their joint account, they didn't realize the error and wrote checks on that duplicate deposit. They were just looking at the ATM balances and saying, oh, I have enough money in there, but they didn't have funds to cover them. So you want to avoid duplicate deposits and the fees. If you've tried and you really can't reconcile, don't ignore it. You need to call for help. So call the banker or call the CPA. A lot of the banks will provide this service for free, where CPAs are going to have to charge you. But it's far easier to pay those fees and to get it reconciled. But our fees can be anywhere from, $100, $200 an hour to help you do this bookkeeping function. So, it is important to make sure that you do it. It can cost you money if you don't grasp that concept. Another reason you want to check your bank account is to verify your refund check. Now that IRS makes everyone e-file, you can directly deposit your refund check. So a taxpayer gave their CPA an incorrect bank account number for the IRS to directly deposit their large tax refund, but the IRS failed to deposit a refund in that taxpayer's account. But when the CPA asked why the refund wasn't received and went to reconcile the account, they discovered that it was never deposited. So what happens? The moral is the IRS informed the taxpayer they weren't able to help. The refund was lost because the taxpayer didn't report it timely. There's only a certain period of time you can go to the IRS and ask for a refund. If you're beyond the statute of limitations, they're not going to allow it. The same thing happens with the bank. The bank won't deposit an outdated check if it's longer than 6 months old. So you need to keep on top of things. Why track your cash? Another reason, uncover unauthorized transfers. Know that you transferred money to the right account. A client thought they successfully transferred funds from one account to another, but actually transferred them to thieves through a fraudulent link. This was found in their bank reconciliation process. In fact, the state of California thinks reconciling bank accounts is so important that they require their homeowners associations to do it on a quarterly basis. So I think that's pretty important when a state turns around and says you have to reconcile your bank account. Now, many times, thieves are good at duplicating bank graphics, so that's why you need to verify all deposits were actually put into your account. Don't click on links. Always type the bank's direct site to make sure it actually hit the account. Again, with these convenient apps, it's more critical to evaluate the option terms to make sure it is right for the transaction that you want to use that app for. So, for instance, banks may have transfer tools, but you may need an app to do it. So if you want to transfer, you want to make sure you request an electronic money transfer. You must also monitor that transaction. So money transfer apps are a great way for friends to pay one another without ever using cash. And some apps will send a reminder to your friend. Venmo, for instance, that's V-E-N-M-O. They have a request button that will send them for you. But Venmo's terms, they avoid payments to people you don't know, especially if it involves a sale for goods and services. Scam-preventing tips are in the terms, so don't misuse those money apps for situations that they're not intended for. So also make sure your friends choose the private option, or you'll know all their transactions and they'll know all yours. So it's easy to miss that. So there again, Venmo may be great for friends, but it's not something you'd want to use for someone that you didn't know. The same applies for the other apps. The reason apps are ripe for fraud is because users don't take the time to understand how they work or check the balances. You want to take advantage of things. Sure, you'll get a text message saying that the agreed amount was added to your account, but go back and be skeptical. Go back and check and make sure that before you give the buyer any goods, if you were using that Craigslist example, you want to make sure you checked your account to make sure the money went in. You don't want to be too trusting. Now, for things to evaluate apps on, you want to look for certain things like what's the speed of delivery. If you have a transaction that needs to get done, you want to know the different types of transfer limits. What are the withdrawal limits? Is there two-factor authentication? And these are just a few things that you want to look at, but make sure that you read the notifications and do something about it when you receive the notification. So you need to understand the apps. Direct bank transfer, you need to know what it is. Well, it's going from one bank account to another. So that's pretty important because the person can have access to that account. So it's fine if you want to give it to the government, but I think it's better to use other methods if you can't trust the receiver of your bank information. Google Wallet, same thing. Don't write checks until the deposit hits your account. Since it takes 3 business days, you need to account for that and only use it if you have that time period. With PayPal, it's simple. If the person who owes you money has a PayPal account. If not, they give you a link. But in order to get the cash, don't forget that you need to withdraw it. And don't forget that there are fees. So you want to record those fees at the deposit at the net amount, not the gross amount before the fees. With Square Cash, you can use it if you don't want to set up an account to receive money. And you can actually do this with email. But can you really trust the security of email? And also they have low transfer limits, so you need to check if you're over that limit. Why do you need to understand how money transfers work, because what about if you use Venmo and you need to cash out the money to put the money into your account and understand how that app works, or you could be bouncing checks. If you know the terms, you avoid surprises and you avoid fees. Read the agreement from the bank. It should describe all the terms and conditions before choosing that bank account. Manage your account so you can avoid the fees. Check your balance and know how much money is available, and reconcile by comparing your personal transactions to what the bank has so that you both agree. The moral is you, your bank, your vendors can still make errors, or thieves can gain access to your account, which you may never discover unless you reconcile your account. The purpose of reconciling is to locate any differences between the bank's records and your records. So you want to make sure that you do that. There could be other things, uncovering deposits and withdrawal fees. What about gifts or checks that haven't been received, recurring withdrawals, double posting a check? We've talked about unauthorized debits or ATM and fraud, but there are so many other things that could go wrong. What can happen if you don't reconcile? For instance, if a vendor doesn't receive your payment, you may not know that unless you reconcile. So you need to know if you need to reissue that check or not. Bank tellers they regularly make errors. We've seen that in our business accounts. They transpose checks, they write the wrong number on the check, the correct amount to the wrong bank account, they duplicate a transaction, they can add up checks on a deposit slip inaccurately, charge wrong fees. So all these types of things you'll find if you reconcile the account, and you'll avoid bouncing checks and all the additional fees that go with that. The benefits of reconciling: just because you sent a check doesn't mean the payee received it. So you'll reveal that if if you check the bank account. So ATM receipts are not. A lot of people use ATM receipts to check the available cash or go online, and that's not really going to help you because not all the transactions have hit that account. So that's why you need the reconciliation. So if you're in a store and you want to know if you can purchase something with a debit, you won't really know that. You won't feel confident in that unless you've reconciled your account. But the main benefits of reconciling is so that you can manage money better. I just find that our clients that reconcile their accounts spend less in total because they track their cash, and they're more aware of where their money is being spent, and they identify ways to save because they're looking at that, and they don't realize how much they've spent. Avoid costly mistakes and overdraft fees, but the most important thing is that you understand the journey of cash. When's the money deposited? When's it going to be available? How long it takes for a check to clear? So how often should you reconcile? I mean, I personally look at my account every day, but we reconcile it once a month. But you want to monitor banks regularly. I'll give you a story about a law firm. They failed to reconcile their escrow account, and escrows are even worse because they're somebody else's money. When the CPA noticed a six-figure certified check, and that was me, they cleared the check, but the sale of the property did not occur. So I asked where the check was. The law firm searched for the check, and it was found in a file that was scheduled to be shredded. The check was for 7 figures. If the law firm had not returned that certified check to the bank would not have returned those funds to the account. Once you have a certified check, that money goes out of the account. So most individuals, like I said, reconcile monthly, but if you have high-volume businesses or sensitive businesses like that, or fraud suspected, you can certainly reconcile it much sooner. Because when you reconcile, you never know what you'll uncover. In that case, they didn't know. When I'm in store lines, I cringe every time I'm in a checkout line and hear a customer say they don't need their receipt. Yes, you do need your receipt. I don't care how you get it. If you get it by phone, email, paper, fax, just get one so that you have the means to compare that information to the bank statement. Because believe me, you may remember a charge in your mind, but what if that charge is made two different months? You may not realize that it was a duplicate charge. Now there's new technology to help you reconcile, and it's a lot more fun. You can have electronic check registers on your home computer. You have companion applications for your smartphone so that you can access mobile banking on smartphone, tablets, or devices. New technology, you can set up account alerts to get text messages or text alerts for suspicious activity. Before using the technology, though, the most important thing is to check out their privacy policies. You know, third parties sometimes provide all these things free, but there could be cookies in there or embedded resources. So, or you could sign up for all these emails that you don't want to receive. There are websites where you can upload a bank statement in order to reconcile, but you still need to be careful about those sites. So verify every transaction. Online services, websites, manual check registers, apps, functions within programs like QuickBooks, and you could even set up your own functions to be able to reconcile on spreadsheets like Excel. Here's a screenshot of the resource from the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants financial literacy website. They have a checkbook balancer, and basically what that does is you input your information in there, you click the calculate, and you review the report. So I think this is mainly for people that don't know what you add back or what you subtract. So I think that's very helpful for them. This slide lists items that you need to reconcile an account. And this is the process of reconciling. But a lot of the instructions for reconciling fail to disclose cutoff transactions. For example, an automatic electronic payment might hit your account a day before or after the end of the month, but you expected to see it a different month than the bank. So you need to account for those cutoff time periods. But don't be alarmed if your checking account doesn't balance. It's normal due to timing differences. Certain transactions are recorded by you, but there's a time lag on the bank system or vice versa. The purpose of preparing the bank rec is to detect any discrepancies between your records. Banks can clear checks for the wrong amount, so if you don't balance, don't think it's your fault. Look at the checks that are cleared. And so I gave you some other different pointer tips that we use as CPAs to reconcile accounts. Technology provides more methods to help with this task, so we listed a few apps for you that can help you with budgeting or analyzing the bank statements. But the most important takeaway from all these slides is to research the app. Research before downloading to make sure it's legitimate. That's why people feel more comfortable with app stores or the vendor doing the business. Downloading it so you don't get malware. Download it from the bank's official website. Social media. Banks sometimes tie that portals for their customers. Make sure you're on a secure page on the bank's legitimate website, because these thieves mimic official websites all the time, and you know to always protect your app with a password. Online resources for tracking cash, we've listed some here. You can even go on YouTube and see there's about 100,000 views for how to balance a checkbook. So I think that's pretty important. Don't get discouraged if you have trouble. There's plenty of resources out there. What tools to track cash? Like I said, online, you have apps, but you know, if all else fails, you can always go to the bank and always go to a CPA. The key is to set goals and create action steps to test your current financial state, engage and grasp your basic wealth. There's examples like My Money Checkup quiz you can take. You know, if you have trouble with credit cards and those types of things, you can go to your Financial Focus program on the NFCC website, and they can hook you up with in-person workshops or one-on-one financials. So there's a lot of good resources out there. But to me, tracking your cash can make you richer. So I love the Einstein quote, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. So the sooner you learn the concept of living within your means, the richer you'll be. And the only way to accomplish that is to track your cash. When you follow a budget, you're in control, and you can reduce spending and increase income. So at the end of every month, review all your income and expenses for the month and see where your money was spent. Compare the actual results to your proposed budget. When you follow a monthly budget, remember, you're in control and you have the power. So the Pennsylvania Institute of CPAs, we asked them for this slide, and they did it for real-world math for middle and high school students. So you can look to CPA professional organizations for education and speaker resources. Those websites are great for students. We have an essay contest, scholarships, contests, all these things. So the PICPA.org website is a good resource for students and teachers as well. So I think we're down to a few minutes for questions.
We are. We have a quieter group this evening than we did this afternoon. Please feel free to post your questions. Anybody that has any for Karen. I think some of the comments that you made, Karen, are so on point with individuals who, especially those that are just living their financial lives online nowadays, and just trusting whatever is coming up as their balance, not paying attention to those those potentials for errors. Question came in, do CPAs have any comments about Mint, which is an online-only mechanism for tracking transactions? It can be downloaded to your computer. A lot of young adults seem to be using that.
Oh, is that the Mint budgeting app?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, that connects the Mint app to your bank, and the app can use your details to create a budget. But as I said, with all the app technology, make sure you read through. The problem that we have with young people, or really anybody, is that they're downloading these things, and you really need to make sure that you read the warnings and you understand what you're allowing them to do. But, I mean, these were apps that the Institute picked, so I would assume that they're pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, Mint is great, but I think, that's one of those things that we always have to be cautious of is where are we using it, when are we using it, how are we using it? You are authorizing that app to, to access your financial information.
Right, and the funny story, you said was about the Venmo account where you can see other people's transactions. I mean, make sure, some of these things are tied to social media. Even the bank portals sometimes are tied to social media, so you really have to make sure you put on that private section.
Yes, I log into Venmo and I find out who paid so and so for pizza or split the cost of a dinner. I'm like, boy, does the world really need to know this? I really don't need to know who you're paying and for what. And yet, if you don't choose that private setting, that's exactly what happens.
But one thing that happened in the last session we talked about too is that the students need to understand that your credit rating could also be affected by these types of things. So that's why you want to make sure, your bills, if you're bouncing checks, if you're not reconciling. An important thing that I should have mentioned is that when you're going up to get a job, some employers, in fact, most employers now, check to make sure that your credit rating is good because they don't want to hire people that are, especially young people, and a new job and lower salary that can't work within a budget and maintain their finances. And they're, especially if they're in a sensitive field like we are in accounting, where that we know our credit rating is going to be checked because we could have access to things and more reasons to commit fraud. So they do check your credit rating, and that's why you don't want to be bouncing checks or not paying credit card bills on time. It's very, very important, especially for your first job.
Absolutely. Couple of comments, questions. One of our participants said that she really appreciates this information. Her principal has told her that she doesn't need to teach this to her students because it will be obsolete by the time they graduate. So I think she'll be going back armed for the next conversation with her principal.
Yeah, and tell her she doesn't have to be alone. I mean, I'm on the Speakers Bureau of Pennsylvania Institute of CPAs. There's 22,000 of us. I'm sure there's a CPA in her area. If you contact the Institute at the Communications Department or ask for the Speakers Bureau, they can gladly send one of us volunteers. We don't charge to go out. A lot of us do volunteer work, so we would be happy to talk to the principal or happy to talk to the kids or do a program like I created this program for you. So, I mean, we do that because we see it. It is so sad in our business to have to charge people and to see people go out of business because they didn't do these things, and they're so simple. They're basic. Like I said, I mean, we've seen people go into credit card debt. We've seen people go out of business. We've seen people get divorced. I mean, there's all kinds of ramifications because they're just not tracking their cash, and they're getting into debt because they don't know what they're spending. They don't realize.
Well, and I appreciate your offer. The Speakers Bureau is fantastic, and one of the things that I always encourage teachers to consider is that when you bring, you might be able to say lots of the same things. You might understand it and have the same appreciation. What I always find to be so valuable bringing individuals such as yourself to the table is that you have those horror stories. You're not just speaking in generalities. Oh, this could happen. No, this did happen. Here's a specific example of when somebody made a poor choice and this is where it landed them. So and I find that students as do adults, we all, I think, really learn a lot from that. So another question from somebody wondering, saying thank you, lots of great information. Will we get a copy of this PowerPoint? And yes, I apologize, I should have mentioned earlier, we will be posting PDF versions of all of the PowerPoints that you'll see tonight on our website, the makingsensepa.org website, under the webinars tab. Those will all be available after tonight's webinar, tonight or tomorrow. So you can certainly access those there. Thank you again, Karen. It was great having you on. I think we've had opened the eyes and got folks thinking a little bit more. Probably a few folks, not just about what they're going to teach, but perhaps what they're doing themselves, looking in the mirror going, maybe I need to be doing this a little bit more too. I know we...
Yes, that's why I put that in. It's amazing. You know, my doctors, my engineers, these people that are highly educated, you know, when you find out they don't reconcile their bank accounts every month, it's really scary. But, you know they're smart, you know they need to do it, but a lot of times it's just the people are too busy. And that's not really a good excuse either.
Not a good enough excuse. Yep, and your point is well taken that, you know, if you put it off, you know, you've got that 30-day window, and if you didn't do it within that time, you know, you're out of luck. So.
True.
Again, thank you so much, Karen. Really appreciate it. My slides should be up. We were having some problems earlier in the earlier session today, Kathy. So please tell me if you're not seeing the agenda, if they're not forwarding.
Well, the agenda's not showing right now. Just the Making Sense blank webinar slide. Okay, now it is. It's showing.
All right.
Okay,
thank you so much. The system is giving me a hard time tonight. It's tired. It wants to go to bed. All right. Next up this evening is Susan Bistransin. Susan, are you there? Susan is joining us from Maryland and is going to talk about the FDIC's new and improved Money Smart curriculum for grades K to 12.
Thank you very much. It's great to be with you guys. Today I'm here to talk to you about a really awesome revision that the FDIC has done for their Money Smart for Young People program. Money Smart's been around for a very long time, but the Money Smart for young adults is the brand new version, and this version will cover grades, goes from kindergarten to college age, actually. So let me give you a little bit of background information on the FDIC and how they put this together. They worked with the CFPB to create Money Smart for Young People and did a lot of research throughout the country. They looked at parents and teachers and students from all different socioeconomic levels to find out what they actually needed as far as improvements in this financial education curriculum. If you're not familiar with CFPB, they're a really great little organization. If you take a look at their website, they've got wonderful resources for financial education as well, aside from Money Smart. The goals for this program, FDIC wanted to give all educators resources that were complete, prepared, and ready to use. One of the unique pieces about Money Smart for Money Smart for Young People is the Parent and Caregiver Guide. This is pretty unique to this program. You don't see it in too many others, and it's a great format. We'll get into that in just a minute. We're really promoting hands-on learning and experiential learning. And there's a big focus on savings accounts as well. So this new Money Smart for Young People series is 4 different levels. So we have a pre-K through grade 2 level, grades 3 to 5, grades 6 to 8, and grades 9 to 12 and college age. All of these materials are available for free download at FDIC's website, and there's even a teacher resource center located on their website to help you out. So this program involves educators, students, and parents or caregivers. So it's very complete. You have everything that you need. If you open up this curriculum, there's a teacher's educator guide. You have PowerPoint slides that are ready to download and use. There's a student guide with all the workbook pages that are needed. And the parent and caregiver guide has all sorts of resources to support learning. And you're going to be really excited when we pull that apart, open it up, and see what it says. I think the best part of the parent and caregiver guide is the conversation starters and how do you talk to kids about money. Some great ideas are in that parent and caregiver guide. One big plus is that we are connected to all sorts of standards because we know that teachers all over the country are being told they need to tie their lessons to Common Core or some type of national or state standard. So there's a chart in each curriculum guide level that identifies every lesson and every part of the standards as they are seen in the lesson. So their financial literacy jumpstart standards are covered, Common Core, English Language Arts and Mathematics, the National Standards in Economics from the Council on Economic Education, and the Partnership for 21st Century Skills. So we have lots of standards that are covered, identified, and mapped out for you. So if you want to cover yourself as far as standards are concerned, we've already got it figured out. So in every curriculum, each of the 4 levels, there are multiple lessons. They can be taught by themselves as a standalone lesson, they can be incorporated into other lessons, or you can use it as a series of lessons. The standard alignment charts are there for you. There are also ideas for grade level modifications for any level of learner so that you can differentiate your instruction. There are real-life exercises and examples. So the curriculum is meant to be as relevant to students as possible, things that they would actually need to know. There are suggestions for optional books, online games, and tools, and I'll show you some specific examples of those as well. In addition, this curriculum is expandable into existing academic subjects like English, math, social studies, and there's lots of suggestions built into the curriculum to explain to you, hey, here's an idea of how you can make this a full department or a full grade level activity. Each of the levels of the curriculum follows the same format. So this one that we're looking at is level 4, that's the high school level. And this is a sample page from the curriculum. So in level 4, you find 22 lessons, hands-on cross-curricular activities. They're meant to be very engaging and exploring very key financial concepts. There are teacher presentation slides that are downloadable as PDFs, and they're also on the website in PowerPoint, set up as separate PowerPoints that are downloadable as well. The student guide has handouts, worksheets, and resources that go along with each particular lesson. And the parent and caregiver guide is in there as well, with lots of conversation starters and family activities to work on. So when you're looking at these particular lessons, when you open up the document, you'll see that there are grade level modifications to differentiate learning experiences for beginning and advanced learners. They're all included. Each lesson plan includes an estimated time to teach the lesson, but as we all know as teachers, that really is estimated. You know your audience, you know the students that you teach, and they are the ones who determine how long it's going to take to get a particular concept across. So it's just estimated. It's not hard and fast. There are pre and post assessments noted on the first page of each lesson. So if you're looking to collect data on your students and their achievement, you have your pre and post assessments right there. The lessons are structured in a general fashion to meet the needs of most educational systems in the country. So we start with a warm-up. Some people call it the anticipatory set. You can call it whatever you like, but it's the beginning activity. There is guided exploration, so the teacher is explaining the concepts. You have Money Smart tips, which are extra bits of information that you can throw in to enrich the program. There are independent exploration activities, wrap-up activities, and other exploration into other academic areas. So you have everything that you need. You have your student handouts, and most importantly, as we all know, we have the answers. We've got the answer key. There's a glossary of terms, there's the standards chart, so it's very, very complete. This is the unique piece of Money Smart. It's Money Smart at Home, the parent and caregiver guide. And I've been, as Hillary said, I've been a veteran of financial education. I've been doing this for over 20 years, and this is one of the unique pieces of curriculum that I have seen. There's tons and tons out there, but this part is really awesome. The parent and caregiver guide is constructed so that it corresponds to what's going on in the classroom. Now, it can be used independently of the curriculum. It does not have to be paired with the curriculum. There's tons of stuff, resources, activities, games, conversation starters. And the Parent and Caregiver Guide is awesome if you want to do any type of an outside activity with your Parent-Teacher Association, if you want to do a learning activity, a community learning activity. The Parent Caregiver Guide gives you awesome things to be able to do with those types of activities. So for each level, there is a culminating activity that goes with each. For level 4, the high school level, there's the Money Smart portfolio. And the portfolio is designed to assess your student understanding on the whole. Self-reflection, personal assessment, and it's to build the long-term vision so that the students see the importance of not only investing in the Money Smart program, but understanding how important it is to handle their money wisely. There's an interdisciplinary project for level 3, that's the middle school level, grades 6 to 8. So one of the suggested topics is about managing a budget. So you can do an interdisciplinary project across different academic areas to plan a field trip. And you need a budget for that field trip. So social studies might assess the needs and wants of the field trip. Math will do the budget. English can write persuasive letters. The art department can do posters. So all of these things are listed in the curriculum, and there's many, many more that wouldn't even fit on this slide. So there's tons of suggestions in there that you can take and use. For levels 1 and 2, you have Smart Bucks, and Smart Bucks are a classroom incentive that can be used very creatively. You can use them actually as money so that you can work with making change. You can use the value of saving and have a class store. So there's lots of different things you can do with incentive bucks, but they're a really cute design, and they're also included in levels 1 and 2. So let's take a look at the actual curriculum. I've got some snapshots of what the pages look like and what you'll see when you open up the document. For every curriculum, there is lessons at a glance. And so this is just a short snapshot of everything that you're doing. So for this particular snapshot, you're looking at level 4. The title is Working Hard for the Money. You have the topic, you have your learning objectives, estimated time, what is covered in session 1 and session 2, which sections, and it'll give you kind of an estimate of how to go about it. So you get the quick snapshot when you're trying to figure out, well, what do I want to do? I have this much time, and here's your resource to be able to figure that out. There's a lesson overview page that also goes along with this. They all have the same structure, so they'll basically cover what the lesson is. Here's an example of the student guide, the table of contents. So it gives you the type of lesson, the topic, and what the handouts are, and they're really clearly outlined. The parent guide is organized around themes. These are the My Money 5 themes that the FDIC has for their financial education programs. Earn, spend, save and invest, borrow, and protect. And so when you take a look at the parent guide, we're going to kind of dissect a page from this a little bit. You have your topic connections, the overview, what's going on in the classroom so that the parents can find out. A glossary of terms, words to know. What we find often is one of the reasons why financial education is not shared and the kids don't know a whole lot of it is sometimes their family does not know enough to be able to share that information with them. So we want to make sure that the basic information is provided in the parent guide so those conversations can happen. And we have the conversation starters, like what would be your dream job? Where do you think your tax dollars go? What if my teen wants to get a job? And family activities. What can you do as a family together? So there's also a list of resources, games, apps, online tools, articles, lots of different things that you can use. So like I said, this is a great opportunity if you want to do an after-school activity or a community activity on financial education. Great ideas here. The FDIC has a Teacher Online Resource Center, and I'm not going to click on that because things go crazy when you try to click over here. So I just want to show this to you. This is a screenshot of what the Teacher Online Resource Center looks like. There's tons of things that you can find out from there. This is the link where you can download all of the materials for free. There are a few videos that help to give examples of how to use the materials. Spending choices, setting savings goals, and a field trip to the bank are 3 of those, and those are done on the level 3 curriculum, the middle school curriculum. So for ongoing support, FDIC trainers will check with you periodically. You can contact your community affairs officer. You can contact me if you need some help with obtaining the materials or any other clarifications as far as the materials are concerned. Okay, I want to just go through very quickly and show you a couple of the ideas, a couple of the activities that we have in all the different 4 levels. The first one is being a savvy shopper. This is for the middle school level. We have the lesson overview, and this is the opening page for every single lesson. It tells you everything you need to know down to make copies of student handouts and group handouts, set up your projector. So everything is there for you. One other key thing that I really like, you have both learning objectives and essential questions depending upon what style you are asked to work with and post in your classroom. I know that some curriculums and some teachers are going more toward the essential questions rather than the learning objectives. So they are both there for you. What's the difference between a need and a want? Great activity for youngsters if you want to have them take a stand and ask them a question. Is a cell phone a need or a want? Stand on this side of the room or that side of the room and have them explain. A really great comparison shopping activity for middle school students is cell phone contracts. So there are 3 sample cell phone contracts included, and the students are asked to partner up and make a snap decision which one looks great, and then research it and see what the difference is. If you really take a look at it, was your answer different? And there are worksheets that go along with it. So everything that you need to teach the lessons are prepared here for you. Everything is there. Let's see. Okay, let's look at a level 4 activity. This is the one on identity theft, lesson 20, protect yourself. And again, you have the same opening screen and opening page that shows you your assessments, your essential questions, and everything that you need to know. So, what do thieves do with your information? Topical on what we had just talked about. A lot of different things. And so these are great conversation starters. This is an example of one of the teacher slides that's available for you. Conversation topic, another teacher slide. Who's been guilty of oversharing and how does social media contribute to oversharing? The Federal Trade Commission has an awesome website that has lots of videos and educational materials. This is the website itself, ftc.gov, and there are tons and tons of videos. One of them is on job scams, and so one of the activities that we have is a student handout called This Job, Not That Job, and there is a video called Job Scams, and you're looking at a screenshot of it. Students watch the video and then answer the questions, which job is actually real. So this is really an awesome website to take a look at. Then they also have worksheets to work additional things with that website about what do you do if your identity has been compromised, and there are steps to take, and the FTC will explain to them how to do it so they know where that resource is. As I said before, the extended exploration, lots of different ways you can do this, and this is just a few for English language arts, mathematics, and social studies and economics, but lots of these are included within the curriculum project. Money Smart at Home, this is for Theme 5. You can see there's several lessons that go along with each theme. Lesson 20 goes along with Theme 5, and Theme 2, Spend. You can have conversation starters such as what shopping strategies have you learned that help you protect yourself and save money, opportunity cost in the real world, purchasing power. All of these things are great topics that you find in the Parent and Caregiver's Guide. And as I said before, tons and tons of opportunities for extended exploration as well. On Guard Online, another really, really great resource. There are tons of videos on Guard Online. and this is what the website looks like. The cool thing about On Guard Online is their videos are very short, so it's not something that you need to sit there and the kids are going to watch for 15 or 20 minutes. They are brief and they're easy to discuss and pull up, and so tons and tons of things. On Guard Online is definitely a resource I would highly recommend, and there's several activities with the FTC's On Guard Online in this particular curriculum. Okay, for grades pre-K to 2, the idea behind these lessons is that students are to become super savers. So it's really focusing on savings and literacy, lots of storybooks involved with it as well. For grades 3 to 5, they talk about budgeting. And so each of these lessons were written by those grade level teachers, and they are appropriate for their grade level. So when they do savings is level 1, and level 2 is basically on budget and spending, and they provide real world scenarios for the students to work with. Here's a couple of great resources for the younger students. pbskids.org. This is a game called It's My Life, and very fun to play. Another one that does not take very long, but it's a great opportunity for kids to make some decisions and to look at weighing the options as far as purchasing power is concerned. Other online games and tools, and all of these are included within the curriculum, and all of the references are there. AdMongo dissects advertisements, and that's a really fun one to look at. They've got some great games and tools in there as well. BizKids.com, this is a PBS program that is on, it's basically the middle school level, but this the lemonade game, $1 a glass, is a lot of fun. And again, this is also one of the resources that we talk about in the curriculum. And again, so here's, community affairs at FDIC.gov will give you direct information. You can also contact the Society for Financial Education and Professional Development. You can contact me and email me, and I'll be happy to give you any help or in assistance in working with any of these materials, because they really are great. Got some great feedback across the country from everyone who's been using them. Okay, so I'm checking my time, making sure I've said everything I needed to say, and we have time for any questions or comments that any of the participants would like to make.
Thanks so much, Susan. What great information. I'm excited about the availability of this program. One of the things that I always tell people is that if you're going to teach a course in financial education, there is no need to go and run out and buy a textbook. And I think, we've seen some great resources over the years from National Endowment for Financial Education and Taking Charge and others. This is certainly a great addition to those, and something I think that should be in every educator's sort of toolkit of resources, and I hear a couple of others that have weighed in saying that as well here. Any of our participants that have questions, feel free to pop those over. I just a couple of things that came to my mind as you were sharing a little bit. One, I love the family connections. I think that's so incredibly helpful to make those connections. One thing that some folks have noticed over the years is that some of the Money Smart curriculum, especially at the adult levels, has focused or it seems to have been developed for the most part with maybe a low to moderate income audience in mind. It's done a really good job of having explanations, for example, of about alternative financial service providers and some things that maybe weren't in some of the other curriculum. Would you say that the K-12 has similar aspects to it, or would you say it's just it's really a broad level, sort of for anybody, anywhere, or where would you say it sort of lands on that?
I think this new one basically is just a broad financial education program that covers all of the basics. It's not geared toward one socioeconomic level. They did do some research with people of all different levels and teachers and students to see what information they were interested in, and so that sort of guided the outline and the content that was put into Money Smart. But it's general. It reaches all different levels.
That's great. I have a comment here from Dennis that says he's used other FDIC materials and they're really good, more than you can cover in some cases. So that's great feedback, Dennis. Question from Kathy Jo. Are students going to be able to access answers on the worksheets from the internet? So is this, like some of the other platforms, you have to get a teacher login in order to download materials, and that gets vetted and verified. Are these materials available and accessible that students would be able to get those answer keys?
At this point, they're not separate teacher accounts, but in order to be able to download, you do need to set up an account with FDIC in order to get these materials and to do the download. So yeah, it's not a point and click easy for the kids to be able to get answers. Great.
Yeah, I know that's been a question before. There's a couple of others that are kind of easy to access those darn resourceful kids. What do you? Yeah. Give them Google and that's what they'll do. One comment here just about that it's great that there are both the learning objectives and the essential questions. I think that's definitely something that we see a split here in our school districts here in Pennsylvania. Some that are have gone totally over to essential questions and ditched objectives. Some that are still using both. So that's great to see that. Another question: does Money Smart have a planned course of study? Like if you only have a limited amount of time, these are the things that you could or should teach. Any sort of pacing guide or recommendations in that regard?
There's no specific recommendations. Each of the lessons are designed so that they could be taught as standalone lessons. They build on each other, but they also could be taught individually. So at this, you basically leave it up to the educator to take a look at that table of contents and choose what do you think is the most important thing that your students need to know, and pick and choose from those lessons, because they can be used individually as well as teaching the entire course.
And if you said this earlier, I missed it and apologize, but if somebody were going to go through and say the high school level, that level 4, if they wanted to teach all of the lessons and do them justice, about how long do you think they would take?
Generally speaking, this material, it kind of depends on how deep you dive into it, because it is pretty flexible in how you use it. I would say this would be equivalent to a semester course. This could take up an entire semester if you did the deep dive and did every single thing that was in there. And again, if you don't have that much time, which a lot of us don't, you can substitute things and cut it back a little bit and just try to get the best parts of it in there.
That's great. Just another comment, the parent guide, somebody said, is great for teaching finances at home. Wish their parents would have done something like this. Boy, don't many of us, I think.
Yes.
I used to ask folks in teacher training sessions and others, I said, how many of you have learned in school, and how many of you learned from the School of Hard Knocks, right?
Right.
Lots of us who wish we would have gotten it sooner rather than later. Well, thank you so much, Susan. It was great having you on. I really appreciate your participation with us today. And let me just switch over here and show my screen again so that you can, everyone can get your contact information as well. So Susan's email is here, as well as in the agenda and bios handout. And again, that along with the slides will get posted after tonight's webinar at our website. So thanks again, Susan. Really appreciate you joining us and sharing the information about the new Money Smart curriculum.
Thanks for having me.
All righty. For some reason, my slides are not showing like everybody else's slides. Did everybody catch that with Susan's contact information now? Okay, very good. All right, so let me move us forward in our agenda here. Next up for our remaining time, minus a few minutes for me to wrap things up, it's my pleasure to ask Becky MacDicken to join us. Becky and I used to work together once upon a time when I led the Pennsylvania Office of Financial Education, which was housed at the Pennsylvania Department of Banking. It has now since merged with the Securities Commission, and Becky is still holding down the fort there, working on financial education. So, Becky, it's great to have you with us today to talk about this new initiative to coordinate state government efforts with regards to financial education. So, I'm seeing your slides, and
excellent.
Thank you so much. I'm going to turn things over to you.
Okay. Well, thank you first off for having me today. I'm here at Hillary's request to talk about one of our newest initiatives, which is the State Agency Financial Exchange, or SAFE. This is a group that or an organization we started about last July, I think, was our first meeting. You see our lovely little logo there for the new exchange that our great graphic designer created for us. But we're going to, whoops, wrong way. We're going to talk about that. So what exactly is SAFE? It is an interagency group that meets to share financial education information related to Pennsylvania consumers. And we have tackled all the state agencies. We've invited them, and we've tried to drag them kicking and screaming to the table in some cases. But we've got over 22 groups right now that are meeting on a fairly regular basis to discuss financially related information and making sure we're sharing. The governor liked it so much, he made it part of his Consumer Financial Protection Initiative last November. He announced this was part of it, so we were very excited and, of course, flattered that he liked it and the idea of people talking to one another. And I do want to say it's not something that's not ever happened before. We have done things like this before, but this time seems we have a logo. Ooh, exciting. So, but we're wanting to prove that the government works. We're talking to one another amongst agencies. The right hand hopefully knows what the left hand is doing right now, so that's been a good thing. Let's see. So far, SAFE, as I mentioned, we have 22 state agencies. This includes groups like aging. They include some groups not under the governor's jurisdictions, like the Treasury Department, and FIA. And there's quasi-governmental agencies like PHFA, the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency. So we have a really terrific mix of groups. We've met 9 times in the last, whatever that is, year and a quarter, so we're averaging about once every 6 weeks, but we found that this is working for everybody as far as information sharing and not oversaturating ourselves. And then the SAFE group has created 3 subgroups. We've got a group that's focused on cybersecurity. We want to make sure Pennsylvanians know how to keep themselves safe when they're online or using a mobile device or whatever it might be. So we have a task force that is focused on cybersecurity. We have another one where we have gotten combined all the call center leaders in a room so that anybody who answers a 1-800 number at all of our different state agencies know what the other agencies have as far as resources go. So, for example, if a call comes into our Consumer Services Department and it's really a revenue-related question, that our folks know and have that information to transfer that call to revenue and vice versa. So all these call center leaders are getting together and sharing information to make sure they understand what everybody's role is within the state government. Lastly, we have a subgroup on business services, which is led mainly by DCED, which is the community economic development within the state. So they've been fantastic at helping sort of corral anybody interested in Pennsylvania businesses. That's the most recent small group or subgroup of our agency, the exchange, but it's going well so far. So. Now, we actually didn't know how to quantify these meetings. It's a little hard to, happy, fuzzy feelings, but we did a survey anyway of all the agencies participating. And what the survey said, the results were 85% of the partnering agencies were actually very excited about this group and the new knowledge they were gaining from the meetings they were attending. 65%, or 67, sorry, I can read, were confident their staff better understand other agency resources now. which makes it easier for everyone to do their jobs and be more efficient. And lastly, we had 46% of agencies are now collaborating on projects that they had not been before. So they realized there was some overlap and we're now working together better than ever. So those are some really fun statistics. We put those statistics together into an infographic so that you can see on your screen right now. And I believe I gave that to Hillary, and she's going to share that file however you share files through these webinars. But you can see it at the bottom of the infographic. We have a list of all the participating agencies so far. And, of course, we've got a little teaser out there when this goes around through the governor's office and other agencies say, hey, wait a minute, we need to be a part of this. They can contact us. So we're very proud of that piece. So a couple examples of some collaborations we hadn't really worked on prior to this exchange or the SAFE group. I will go internally and talk specifically about a couple things I'm working on. First, we partnered with the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation, and we did a training based off of a booklet called Sense and Sensibility, A Guide to Money Management. Now, this booklet is actually written by the Pennsylvania Assistive Technology Foundation, but it's a financial education curriculum aimed at the disabled community. And I believe, Hillary, you've got Susan Tackow from there coming in March to talk to this group, so that'll be fantastic. But it's a very specific curriculum geared towards disabled. Next, we are currently partnering with the Department of Corrections. They came to us and said, we've got a bunch of people who've been incarcerated for many, many years. Some of them were incarcerated back when they were juveniles and have never had a bank account, let alone anybody who did have a bank account, but how much have things changed in the last, 20, 30 years. So we are actually currently doing a pilot program for inmates that look like they'll be transitioning out into society in the next year or two. And so far that's been very well received and fulfilling at the same time. Lastly, we're working with OA, which is the Office of Administration here for state employees, and they have asked us to provide some financial education for state employees that is unbiased, no sales pitch, those types of things. So they have come to us, and we're going to be partnering on some extra education for state employees. So how can SAFE help you? Well, one of the resources we've recently compiled is called Getting Help with Financial Matters. In other words, it's kind of about knowing where to go. And we have a 4-page document that's currently just in Word form, but we're hoping to make it a nice, slick, glossy brochure at some point. But I've shared that with Hillary, and you will get a copy of that then wherever the resources go. But it will have things like, again, the Treasury Department, FIA, Aging Department, anybody you might need that's related to some type of financial matter. We found the proper number to get you to the right office within each agency. And we are recognizing there's a lot of overlap between different agencies, so hopefully at least that document can be a really great resource for people who might need some help. We have our cybersecurity subcommittee has a page that we are hoping the governor's office is going to actually house, and we actually have a meeting with them tomorrow, so I'm probably talking just a little prematurely, but we believe since they are so heavily involved with both this exchange and cybersecurity as an issue, we've compiled about 13 pages of different tips and protocols that could be used for cybersecurity, and we're hoping they're going to put that up on their website so everybody in Pennsylvania has access to it. It will probably be on pa.gov at some point down the road, but I will, when that's official, I'll let everybody know too where it is. We have also created a draft video, and this is where it's going to get tricky, Hillary. I need to get to the video, so I need to be able to see my, where is it? There we go. I want to share with you a draft video that we have put together, and this is probably going to go on the governor's website as well as other agencies can put this right on their websites. This is a draft, I will say that, and at the end I believe it has the DOB, Department of Banking and Securities logo, but all agencies that are working with cybersecurity, working with Pennsylvanians, which is basically everyone, will be able to utilize this video. So I want to play it for you. The one other technical thing is I have to put my phone up to the computer speaker, so I hope you can hear. So if you can't, let me know, Hillary. All right, we're going to hit play.
Thanks, Becky.
Cybersecurity. We hear a lot about it, but what does it all mean? Here at the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, we want to keep your information safe and secure. Here's how you can protect yourself. As a college student, I need to know how to keep my information safe. So, what is cybersecurity? Cybersecurity means you have to keep everything you do online safe, so no one steals your financial or personal information to use for their own gain. How do I go about keeping myself safe? Are there simple things I could be doing? Start by never responding to emails, phone calls, or texts that request your personal information, and be very cautious about what you share on social media. Never give out your passwords to anyone. What about when it comes to passwords? How do I create a strong one, and should I be using different passwords for every online account? Always use a combination of at least 8 upper and lowercase letters, numbers, and characters. Try to avoid birthdays, family member names, or anything else easily guessed. And always use a different password for each account. If you use the same password for all your accounts and someone steals it, all of your accounts are now compromised.
When it comes to staying in touch at work, I'm always on my cell phone. So how do I protect my smartphone? And what about downloading files from the internet? Can I do that from anywhere?
Secure your smartphone with a screen lock and/or a power-on password. And when it comes to downloads, download and install software only from websites you know and trust.
How about when I'm not working, but doing online shopping? How do I know the transaction and my information are secure?
Look for the HTTPS in the address line. That S means secure. Also, look for the lock symbol and trusted shopping logos.
I'm not online. I don't need to worry.
You're not online, but your secure information is. Check your credit card and bank statements regularly. Also, be sure to pull your free credit reports annually from www.annualcreditreport.com or call 877-322-8228.
Traveling around the state, I find myself using open Wi-Fi. Is that a problem?
We recommend that you avoid using unsecured public wireless access points, such as those found in airports, coffee shops, and hotels, especially for any transactions involving personal information and payment.
What do I do if someone gets my personal information and I become a victim of identity theft?
Report it right away. First, contact your financial institution and/or credit card companies and report lost or stolen ATM cards, credit cards, checks, or compromised passwords immediately. There are also a number of ways you can contact different agencies for help. You can find these on our website, www.dobs.pa.gov.
Okay, I hope you could all hear that all right.
It sounded great. Thanks, Becky.
Okay, great. Well, hopefully you all learned something from that too, but these are the types of resources that the exchange is working on to get out, again, interagency and to all Pennsylvanians, whether it be students, seniors, working adults, whatever it may be. So that's our first taste of it, and we're very excited about that one. All right, moving back to the presentation, the PowerPoint. Oh, click. And go. I believe you had Doug Hassenbein on a call back in April, but for anybody who wasn't on that call, I'm going to touch on the presentation he talked about. We have a Save and Invest PA presentation here at the Department of Banking and Securities. That's what that DOBS is. This is a presentation that sort of teaches kids the power of building with your money when you take advantage at a young age. It's definitely geared for high school, post-high school, and college students. The presentation uses lots of visuals and videos to help students relate, and again, about starting at a young age. And Doug, I'm sure, covered, again, and I will, that there are basic concepts covered in his presentation, like savings and investing, budgeting, risk tolerance, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, what those all are, asset allocation, not putting all your eggs in one basket, dollar cost averaging, and lastly, compound interest. So it's a great program. Doug goes out and does a lot of these throughout the year. So if you're not familiar with that, you can certainly talk to us more about that program, and we're happy to come to your school. There's also a new version of Save and Invest PA that focuses on the prevention of investment and financial fraud. Again, when the Department of Banking and Securities goes out, everything we do is commercial free, and free to the, we don't charge anything for our visits, so we will come to any school in Pennsylvania and offer Save and Invest PA. And the contact information there, informed@pa.gov, will get you right to Doug, who can help schedule if anybody is interested in that presentation. Or you can call our 1-800-PA-BANKS number, which that goes into our consumer services hotline, but we have live people answering the phone, and we're very proud of that as well, so they will direct you to the right place within the agency. I added a slide in just today thinking about it. What else are a couple things you can do to connect with our department and find out about our resources? We have a Facebook page and LinkedIn and Twitter, and the addresses are all here within the presentation. Also, of course, our website has a lot of free publications and resources, and then our 1-800 number, again, to reiterate. This is a screenshot of our web page, but this is, when you get to the home page, there's a consumer tab at the top right, and when you click on consumers, then there's a learn tab. This is where you'll find our calendar of events, all the publications we have available, which are free to download, the programs that we offer coming out to schools and other events, and then other resources. So that's just, again, a resource for everybody here. A couple of other agencies I want to touch on that are part of the exchange, and I know, again, Hillary's tapped a lot of these people. They've either been on before or they're coming up, and I believe FIA is going to be with you all in November. FIA is the Pennsylvania Higher Education Assistance Agency, and they are fantastic at helping kids get ready and planning for college. They do FAFSA assistance, which FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. The link in this PowerPoint right now shows all their upcoming events. They're really gearing up to help. There's a new deadline, or not new deadline, but there's an earlier opening for the window to apply for FAFSA. So they've got all kinds of events going on. You can use that link to find out when they'll be in your neck of the woods. They also, on their website, FIA.org, have tons of materials for educators, students, parents, counselors, and they're also linked to several other agencies, and both at the federal level and the state level, that can also assist students. Next, just in case you're not aware, the Pennsylvania Treasury Department has the 529 program, and that is a program that helps families save for their children's education. It's a special tax incentive to help people save. You don't pay taxes as the money that grows isn't taxed. So there's two versions of that. It's a guaranteed savings program, which sort of means you prepay for college credits, and then there's an investment saving program, which can be you put your money in and invest it, and it may grow at a better rate than the guaranteed savings program, although that one is guaranteed. So for more information, you can go to their website, pa529.com. And then a couple other quick agencies is the insurance department. They actually have a new curriculum out for teen drivers, and so that they understand how insurance works, what they need to know about it. So I know Dave Buno with their agency was on last March, and he's coming up again on the agenda next February. So watch out for him. He's fantastic. Also, the transportation department, if you didn't know, has practice driver's tests for teens, and a lot of safety information as well. So it's another good resource for anybody learning to drive. So now I'm actually going to turn things over to Hillary for just a minute. She's going to talk about the Department of Education.
All right, very, very good. By the way, I just it just came to mind. There will actually be a presentation in person by the Pennsylvania Insurance Department in conjunction with the Pennsylvania Department of Education that's going to be coming up on that new driver's insurance curriculum and program that they have. So you should hopefully be getting an email about it when that is all said and done. I believe it's going to be at Central Dauphin School District here in the Harrisburg area next month. So look forward to information on that if anybody is interested. As Becky mentioned, the Pennsylvania Department of Education is also part of SAFE. It's been my pleasure to participate in a number of those meetings on behalf of PDE, since I manage the Making Sense project, which is, as I mentioned before, a partnership between the Department of Education and Penn State. And so you are already part of what we're doing by participating in this professional development that we offer via webinars. We're also doing a lot more conference presentations this year, and have the ability to do some on-site work this year, in particular at intermediate units. So if you have an interest in having somebody come out and talk about financial education, please don't hesitate to let me know. We're also doing a lot in the area of curriculum. If you've been on some of our webinars in the past, you know that we have a model pre-K to 12 framework for financial education that we put together that's based on the Pennsylvania standards. We have an entire model course that draws upon lots of the free resources that are available. One of my action items is to make sure that we incorporate all the new resources from the FDIC's new curriculum into that. We also just recently revamped our iTunes U course for high school, and in the next couple of months we'll be launching ones for pre-K to 2, 3 to 5, and 6 to 8. So look for more information on those to come. And we're offering technical assistance to school districts that are looking at trying to improve their curriculum. So if there's anything I can do to help you with that, please don't hesitate to let me know. Also, we should be coming out soon with a new report that talks about the status of economic and financial education in the Commonwealth. That'll be co-issued by the Department of Education and the Department of Banking and Securities. And finally, a couple of websites where you can go to access all of this information if you haven't been on them before. There's our website, the makingsensepa.org. Obviously, the Department of Education website. If you go to teachers and then go to curriculum, and then you can go to economic education/financial literacy, there is a link there. And then there is also a space on the standards aligned system at pdesas.org under the curriculum framework, where you can find lots of the resources that I was just talking about. So that is it from the PDE side. So Becky, back over to you to close out that part.
That's basically it. It gives you a flavor of what the State Agency Financial Exchange is all about, and there is a lot of collaboration going on between different agencies, so we're very proud of it. And with that, I will take any questions if there's actually time, and my contact information is on the last slide as well. So.
All right, great. There was one question here that was real specific to the PA 529 program, whether or not those credits are usable in a college. I think I'll hold off on that since that's a pretty specific one for the Treasury folks. But
right.
If you have any other questions, feel free, and even that one, Becky can get back to you, I'm sure. If you shoot her an email, she will put you in touch directly with the folks at Treasury that can answer specific questions. That's one of the things that's really great about this exchange, is just bringing everybody to the same table. Yes, I've worked with a lot of these folks over the years, but sometimes there's new folks, and it's a lot harder for them to say no about coming and joining one of our webinars when I can ask them in person and put them on the spot now.
Right.
So thank you, Becky. Appreciate you being with us this evening as well. So I'm going to just swap back over here on my end for just a moment. All right. Hopefully everybody is seeing my slides now. We're just going to wrap things up here with our few slides of just informational pieces. Talked about the iTunes U course that we developed. That has actually just been updated for the high school. So if you have visited that before, or if you've never seen that before, I'd encourage you to do that. We just added a ton more resources to that, and are looking forward to launching ones for pre-K to 2, 3 to 5, and 6 to 8 a little bit later this fall. So stay tuned for that. Our friends at the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia asked us to promote 3 upcoming programs that they have running in October and November. So I'd encourage you to visit their website, philadelphiafed.org/training, to get more information about these programs if they would be of interest to you. Anybody who is able to travel, I know there's a couple of Pennsylvania teachers that are planning to go down to Dallas, Texas in November for the National Jumpstart Coalition. That registration is still open, and I'd encourage you to check that out. I've heard nothing but great things about that conference that they put on, all focused on financial education, both and similar to ours, a blend of content information, curriculum, and professional information. There's also a statewide essay contest happening. Is being sponsored by Harrisburg University in partnership with the School District of Harrisburg. The topic is, what does financial literacy mean to me? And it is open to Pennsylvania students in grades 7 through 12. So if you have a student that you think would be interested in this, or perhaps make it an assignment and submit all or your best ones, it is due by the end of November and could be submitted online to Dr. Jay Leibowitz at Harrisburg University. As always, we encourage you to connect with us on Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, and of course on our website. If you have any questions at any time, I ask that you not hesitate. Shoot me an email, and I will do my best to help you out or make connections and get whatever you need. Our goal is to make sure that you have everything that you need, so that on the front lines in our schools and in our classrooms, you can do the best job that you can. And with that, I'm going to wrap everything up for those that have joined us tonight.